Martin Luther King was definitely a pioneer of his time to use his voice to what he believed in.
He energized groups to carry the message. It wasn't all about him, and he did it in such a loving way that it's impossible not to follow that example.
I think the way that he used his voice and his platform, no matter if it was in the eyes of ridicule or imprisonment or whatever the case was, he didn't back down from that. And so for us, it's inspiration to use our voice and our platform to speak for those that can't speak for themselves.
Very special MLK Day around the association. Our Auto Trader pregame shows you Game 1, PG-13. Forget just all defense MVP conversation. He has been as good as it gets. Thunder get the Knicks. Hawks looking for some magic. A lot of youth take center stage. Not on this stage. At least not to my left. Hawks and Magic, we'll get to that as well. We got 11. Great laugh, Mac. Clearly, perspective. Today is about much more than basketball as we celebrate the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And you think about, and I say this with Jackie Robinson Day in baseball, having covered it, where everybody sits there April 15th every year wearing 42. We recognize this day. We should appreciate and believe in the message every single day. As we bring you in to our set, our Trader pregame, Casey Stern, my Hall of Famers, Zeke, Mac. Isaiah, when you sit there and you think about the importance of passing on the message to young athletes and young African-American athletes who are sitting there who may not truly understand the appreciation they should have of what this day means, how important is it for you that basketball takes center stage in that relationship on MLK Day?
I think it's extremely important that basketball and sport represent this day, because, when you come together in sport, there's really no race, there's no religion, there's no culture. It's just really about people coming together, loving each other, and trying to win or trying to accomplish a goal. What Martin Luther King stood for and what he was trying to do was to make us all equal in the eyes of the law. So there's a great history lesson here in terms of being equal under the eyes of the law, fighting for justice, fighting for equality, fighting for, equal rights in terms of the Voting Rights Act. We grew up in the 60s, played in the 70s, and I'll let Kevin, speak to how important the Celtics were during this period of time and what Red Auerbach did with Bill Russell. But I mean, when you talk about the history of sport and you talk about the history of this day, we always see that iconic picture of Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What does that picture stand for? It stands for people fighting for equality, but using the law, using protests, using marches, but understanding how the law works in this country, and then trying to change those laws, trying to abide by the U.S. Constitution, trying to be a part of the Constitution, trying to be a part of the fabric of America. That's what MLK was all about, and that's what MLK Day represents.
Mac, Zeke references that you think about the Boston Celtics and Red Auerbach, and there are names like his and Branch Rickey in baseball and others who have been so instrumental in this. And I love something we were talking earlier, there's no white, there's no black, only green. Yeah. And the common denominator that sports not only presents in general, but how much of that in this league really began with the organization that you played for. How much of that did you feel? Give us a sense of what that was like being a part of it.
Very much. I mean, red, yeah, there's no black or white, there's green, because the more we win, the more money we're going to make, and we're all going to make it together, and, we all do better together. Basketball is an unbelievable unifier of people. I grew up in a small little mining town. I didn't know any black guys growing up. I went down to the University of Minnesota, And I had no preconceived notions of anybody. I went down there, and some of the black guys on my team became way better friends than some of the white guys. And so I never looked at people from color. And like you say, when you're on the floor, you're just out there playing. The ball has no idea what color you are.
Yeah.
You're just moving it and stuff. And taking it back to the Celtics, Red felt like that. Red started 5 black players, first guy to do that.
Yeah.
He gave the head coaching job to Bill Russell. So Bill Russell was the first player coach, black.
I think it's important that you cite the date. I think Martin Luther King was assassinated in '68. Russell became player head coach,
Yeah.
69.
Yeah, I mean, but
That's how important the Celtics were.
Yeah, and that was a wild time. Zeke and I grew up in the '60s, in the '70s, played in the '70s in college, and played in the pros in the '80s. But it felt like I grew up in a completely different world than today. I mean, I did not see a lot of color and a lot of stuff. Never dawned on me that you were different than me because of your skin color. It was honestly who you were as a person. I liked good people. I liked people that were fun. I liked people like to laugh and stuff like that. So I had universal. Didn't matter what skin color you were. And now I see, it feels like we're almost taking a giant step back, and you put everybody in their little categories. People are people. And I just think basketball is a great uniter. I think it brings people together. And I know, again, taking it back to the Celtics, that was a family. Quick story I'll tell you. So I'm a rookie. They bring everybody back, and they bring back the 1960 World Championship team. This is the first time I see Bill Russell. I love Bill Russell. So I'm in the court, and Bill Russell walks out. I'm like, ooh, Bill Russell, I'm standing out here on the court with Bill Russell. I'm excited. Red comes out. Russ gives him a hug, picks him up in the air, and I'm just staring at him. I'm thinking, wow, the love that these two guys had for each other, and the mutual respect and love and everything they had. It was just so genuine. And I just watched that and said, man, these guys went through some stuff together, and they came out the other side. And you talked about, common goals. The bigger your goals are, the tighter you become. Because if your goal is just get paid in the NBA, who cares if you win?
Yeah.
Your team can be scattered and sketchy. If your goal is to win an NBA championship, you got to be tight, and you got to care about each other. And you can see those guys cared about each other.
All the way at the lowest of levels in terms of those out of the NBA, the community, and spreading the message, something that we continue to see this year to celebrate the life of Dr. King. Visited schools and youth programs around the country that are associated with NBA teams and players. Wanted to hear from the next generation of the leaders and their thoughts about civil rights, modern-day activism, and, of course, the legacy of MLK. Zeke, along with Memphis Grizzlies point guard Mike Conley, sat down with 5 students from Grizzlies Prep to have that discussion and to visit the site where Dr. King took his very last breath.
We're going to be talking about Martin Luther King and his significance in terms of social activism and his impact that he had on the world. When you think of Martin Luther King and social activism, what comes to mind?
I think of him as a very good civil rights leader. I think about what can I do in my community to help others. I think about voices that want to be heard, that aren't afraid to take risks just to be heard.
I think of Martin Luther King as a person who fought without violence, and also as a man who always stuck up for what he believed in and wanted to eliminate all Jim Crow laws.
Man, this guy really had guts to step up for what was right, and I just want to be like that too. Because right now we're just going backwards instead of forwards.
That's just a snippet of a feature you could see in its entirety tonight, 5 p.m., or this afternoon, I guess, 5 p.m. Eastern on the TNT pregame. Zeke, what did it mean to you? What do those types of conversations mean to you?
I was impressed, but I was also hurt that we are still dealing with some of the same issues and topics that we were dealing with in the 40s, 50s, 60s, basically since the inception of this country. And to have those young men at such a young age have to come face to face with, they just want to be equal and they want the same opportunities. And, for the one kid to say, that Martin Luther King was a man, and, we visited, the sanitation workers site where when Martin Luther King went down to Memphis, it was about I am a man, because the workers and African Americans at that time were not being treated or seen as men. And for this young man to say, hey, he just wanted to grow up and be a man and to have, you know, the full equal rights under the law, protection, citizenship, so forth and so on. It was very enlightening, but very disheartening to see that we're still going through this.
Well, you mentioned a young age. We stay with the Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr., he's been celebrating MLK Day since he was a young boy. The Grizzlies and the Pels get together today as part of our broadcast. He'll be doing what he normally does, that's playing basketball. Why don't you see what he was doing when he was 6 years old? Take a look.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day the red hills of Georgia, the Southern form of slaves, the Southern form of slaves will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood.
Back here in Atlanta, the resting place and birthplace of Dr. Martin Luther King on this holiday. Plenty of basketball happening around the NBA, including the game right now on TNT. The Pelicans in Memphis, place of some significance, obviously, on this day, the Memphis Grizzlies. Rookie Jaren Jackson Jr. is having a nice rookie season, and that is impressive at his age. He's second in the league in blocks per game among rookies, for instance, but that's nothing compared to what you're about to see from 6-year-old Jaren Jackson Jr. And here he is at the buzzer.
I still have a dream. It is a dream equally real to dream and every dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. Free at last! Free at last! Thank God! We are free at last!
Nailed it as a 6-year-old, which, by the way, was like 13 years ago. It wasn't that long ago.
But
he had good height for a 6-year-old.
Yeah, he was 6'2" as a 6-year-old.
He had a good height for a 6-year-old as well.
I'm sure he was being asked for his birth certificate a lot when he was young.
Pee-wee basketball, like you walk in.
That guy is not 10.
Yeah, exactly. But how impressive. Didn't even look at his script. He's reading off the speech, so pretty impressive.
Well, it's impressive, but then when you think about who his parents were, you know, mom and dad, and, you know, it's not impressive. You know, he was taught well and he was raised well. And, you know, when you meet him, he treats people with the kindness, the dignity and respect that his parents taught him.
Nice.
Big day. Enjoy the basketball. Consider the meaning of the day as well. Civil rights are human rights. Treat each other like humans. Be nice to each other for the rest of the day and the days moving forward. We appreciate you stopping by. This has been Game Time Live, presented by Kia. For Kevin and Zeke, I'm Matt. Enjoy the basketball, folks.
The good games are coming up.